Abusia enen so yeda foforo ade baako a ma adwene mu ni menim de mu no ekum Africans. One thing that is destroying us is division, from religious division, political division, spiritual division, language, even the continent itself, the borders we have, the division. What is the meaning of that? And how is it helping or killing us? We need to find out and we need to know what is going on, because Bible says unity we stand. Is there any destiny for Africans or black nation or the Akebulans? That's what we are going to discuss today. I welcome you to Revelations. You are watching the biggest, the largest, the highest, the greatest, and the tallest African spiritual platform. I'm Queen Adasa. Call me Empress Makida. I am the spear of destiny, and I am the world star number 8. I am the true bloodline. Call me Hawa. I am Maame Grace, the Diakon, the woman of peace. I welcome you. I'm your annoying host. Today we have one of our brothers here who is going to tackle a very important topic. Very, very important topic. Reclaiming our identity through African destiny. And no, any African ankasa a problem. The destiny so ye wahala. And yes, I reclaiming is also a huge stone. And a such a bona yedi to this as tumbunana na say or buff and a be rolly. And so I don't know how he's going to tackle this, but Revelations can do anything. I welcome you, my people. I appreciate you guys. Let's welcome our guest for today. We welcome you, brother.
Thank you.
Okay, so today is your first time. So yes, you need to pay obeisance to the followers of this big platform. Introduce yourself to us, who you are, what you are, and why you are here.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And I also acknowledge the good work you are doing for African spirituality and African reclamation. You know, all of this is part of our is part of our renaissance, and the renaissance that nobody anywhere can stop it. It is fire. It has come, and an idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by anybody. Exactly. My name is HADI YAKUBU. I am a Pan-Africanist. I am a revolutionary thinker and organizer. I lead a continental Pan-African movement called Africans Rising. And our mandate is to mobilize the entirety of the African continent to put back the idea of Pan-Africanism, African unity, that we as Africans, the only salvation that we have lies in our coming together, lies in our dismantling of the divisions that were caused by European colonialists who came here only to steal, to plunder, to rape, to kill, and even after leaving have put their puppets in place who do their bidding, whilst our populations are still ravishing in poverty. Now we also understand that God did not put us on this earth to suffer the way we are doing in Africa. If he had the intention, or if he wanted us to suffer the way we are suffering, he wouldn't have blessed us with all the things that the world needs: gold, diamond, bauxite, oil. Everything that the world ever needs is found in Africa. And even in ancient trade, the spices, why did the Europeans leave their place to come here? Because they found something that was relevant, that was of value, that they needed. And that's why they had to come here. It's not only the Europeans, even the Arabs came here, the Indians came here. Everybody sees Africa as the jewel that they need, and as the flower that they need to pluck. It's only Africans who have not seen the value that our continent creates. So this is the work that I'm involved in with thousands of other young people across the continent of Africa. And I can tell you that the fervor, the enthusiasm, the gusto with which young people are embracing the idea of uniting and coming together to face our challenges, to face our enemy, that gusto is very encouraging, and it is a force that nobody has the power to stop.
You are watching the biggest. What you are telling me now is just hitting my heart, because that's my heart desire. Are you going to be blunt and sincere and answer every question blunt as it's supposed to be answered?
Fire away.
Okay, sure. You said the fire in you to help Africa, to help put Africa together. Nobody can quench that fire. How do you intend to put Africa together, you and your group?
Well, maybe I'll start from where we've come from as Africans. We were once a great nation as Africans, and I'm sure you are very knowledgeable about our ancient ancestors, forefathers and foremothers, who created valiant empires all across the territory that we now call Africa. We can talk about, great civilizations of Kemet, civilizations of Kush, civilizations of Nubia, civilization, even the Ghana Empire, the Mali Empire, the Songhai, coming back home, the Asante Empire, the Biawa Kingdoms, the Mampris, all of these were huge empires that that controlled huge swathes of territory. But it is interesting how they were organized politically, because you see a lot of these African kingdoms and political entities were formed along groups of ethnics. So you see that in Africa we rarely have one ethnic group that is a stand-alone. They are mostly in groups. So you see the Akan is made up of different groups. You see the Bantu is made up of different groups. You see the Moli Dagbani is made up of different groups. So that is why you find now there's football going on in Côte d'Ivoire. If you go to Côte d'Ivoire, you see populations that speak Twi. Just like populations in Ghana that speak Twi. If you go to Burkina Faso, you see populations that speak Mosi, just like populations in Upper East and Northern Ghana that speak Mosi. Why? Because these are the same peoples. These are the same peoples. The putative ancestor of the Dagbamba, the Mamprusi, and the Nanumba is called Bewa. Now this Bewa gave birth to 3 children and 3 boys and a girl. The 3 boys were the founders of the Dagbang kingdom, the Mamprusi kingdom, and the Nanumba kingdom, whilst the girl with her husband were now the founders of the kingdom of Musi. So that is why you find the Musi and the Dagbamba as playmates. Now here the Musi are the largest population in Burkina Faso along that border. So that Bewa kingdom was a large kingdom that stretched all the way from Upper East, all the Moli Dagbani areas, Upper East, Northern Ghana, what we now know as Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso did not exist. Upper Volta, that the Europeans called it, did not exist. And if you go across Africa, you're going to find all of these. I was recently in Togo, passing through Aflao, and you see, if you go to Lomé, all the way into the interior of Togo, the people speak Ewe, just like the people in Volta region of Ghana. So and something very interesting happened. I was in a particular community where I think they call it Beat 9, and you know, there is just a fence that separates the Ghana side from the Togo side, and people in the Ghana side can actually buy stuff from the Togo side using the same language. What the only thing that was different was that if you have to buy anything, you have to change your CDs into CFA before you can buy anything from across. Then people then speak different, the same language, but officially, because if you cross the fence, your number plate has to change, your mobile network has to change, your currency has to change, your passports change all over the place. So you see that naturally, the oneness in the people is very pronounced. The only things that divide us are the superimposed things that we have. And how did this come about? Came about as a result of a conference in 1884 called the Berlin Conference, that European colonialists sat in Berlin, in Germany, to put the map of Africa on the table and divided it amongst themselves and say, Britain, you take this. France, you take this. Spain, let's give you this small portion. Portugal, you also take this. They were sharing it like Kele Willy, as if people did not live here. And that is how they began to come in, divide us, and conquer. And one interesting fact that Kwame Nkrumah has mentioned in many of his books is the fact that for you to find a small minority oppressing a large majority, there's only one tested and proven tactic, and that tactic is divide and rule. So if your oppressors, if people who dominate, if people who steal, if people who exploit you are using the tactic of divide and rule, what should be the logical answer to that? The logical answer to division is to unite your forces, because it's only in coming together that you have the power to face your oppressors. And we are the way we are doing it, and I'm now coming to answer frontally the question that you asked. And how are we doing it? We are doing it in a very novel manner. We are taking inspiration from our forefathers and our foremothers, Kwame Nkrumah, Marcus Garvey, Alice Kinloch, Sylvester Williams. And let me take another detour, because this is very important. I say forefathers and foremothers very, very deliberately, because in most of these conversations, it is very easy for people to miss out the contributions of our foremothers, our mothers. We make a very big mistake if we leave out the contributions of our mothers. Because a lot of the things, a lot of the contributions, a lot of the civilizational contributions that we boast of today were actually also made by our mothers, who are rightful ancestors in the land above. So I'm being very deliberate, and I've just mentioned Alice Kinloch. People talk about Henry Sylvester Williams as the father of Pan-Africanism, but they forget about the mother of Pan-Africanism. Nothing ever has one father. If you talk about a father, you ought to logically also talk about a mother. You know, if Sylvester Williams was the father of Pan-Africanism, then Alice Kinloch was the mother of Pan-Africanism. Why? Because in London, back in the day, Alice Kinloch was a co-founder with Sylvester Williams of the African Association, which created the first Pan-African conference in London, which we all trace the idea of the creation of the ideology of Pan-Africanism to. So many people erase Alice Kinloch from the history, and I think it is very, very unfortunate, and we must rewrite her back into the history if we are to rightfully and spiritually be on the right footing. Because if you have an ancestor that you do not acknowledge in the African sense of the word, spiritually you are not on good footing. So we would have to acknowledge our foremothers just as much as we acknowledge our forefathers. So we gain inspiration from all of these people who have done tremendously under very, very tragic circumstances to push the African cause, to make us understand and to liberate our minds and to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, to see that our ancient ancestors built civilizations, built knowledge bases. In fact, a lot of the philosophy, a lot of mathematics, a lot of concepts in engineering were learned by Europeans on African soil. Till date, people are marveled at the mathematical and geological precision that was used in creating the pyramids of Giza or the pyramids of the kingdom of Nubia, you know, all of these other things. Now, a lot of this knowledge is not known by the vast masses of Africans. A lot of that knowledge is not known. So how we are uniting ourselves, how we are bringing Africa together, is by taking it from the grassroots, mobilizing the grassroots through music, through arts, through football, through concerts, through poetry, through organizing different activities across the continent. In May last year, we organized more than 500 events across 32 countries in Africa. And a lot of these were in diverse ways. People organized sit-ins, marches, poetry recitals, film shows, screening, football matches, all manner of things. Because these are the things that young people are interested in. And Kwame Nkrumah said that in order to mobilize the people, you go to them, live with them, learn from what they know, start from what they have. And that is where we are taking
so
it from.
that is the fire that you have right now that you believe so much that nobody can quench it.
Absolutely.
Looking at where we are now as Africans, do you think organizing festivals, music and football that came from our oppressors can face what we are facing now as Africans?
Well, I think you make a good point, but music didn't come from our oppressors.
I didn't mention
there is, yeah, I'm just expanding. There is also one of the legacies of oppression and colonialism was to appropriate what was already existing and recoin it as European thing. So you realize that a lot of the philosophy that was learned from Kemet, for instance, has been passed off as philosophy coming from Plato or Socrates or the rest. If you read Booker G. Washington, you would see. And that also happens with a lot of our art forms, some of our music, some of our drumming, some of our play, systems. That appropriation, reclamation of our destiny, even and I'll just detour. Even if you go to European museums, somebody made a joke that if Africans were to take their art from London Museum, there will be no London Museum today. So there was cultural appropriation, and the way we are learning about our history ought to empower us to retake it, reclaim it, not as people who are begging for things to come to us, but people who assert our own collective power and retake what belonged to us that was appropriated falsely by Europeans. So some of these art forms are ways of reclamation that we are doing. But there are also, of course, trends that we infuse in order to, as Kwame Nkrumah says, start from where the people are, start from where they know, and then you gear people's minds towards where the direction ought to be.
Where the direction got to be. You made a statement that they left their purpose. Do you remember you said that when you were first?
Yes.
Who are those purpose?
Well, I'll give you several examples. Look at we have had different generations of African leaders. The independence era leaders, those who fought for African independence, those were the ones who had the idea, and as Kwame Nkrumah boldly proclaimed, that the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. This was the idea that propelled them to chase away the colonialists. But it led to independence, and because the independence was gained on a divisive note, and we did not quickly come together as one, another leg of exploitation, imperialism, was then put into place. And that is what Kwame Nkrumah mentioned, called Neocolonialism. And he wrote a whole book explaining what this meant, Neocolonialism, the last stage of imperialism, in 1965. And he defined neocolonialism this way. He said the essence of neocolonialism is that the state which is subject to it is in theory independent and has all the trappings of international sovereignty, but in practice is economy, and therefore is politics is controlled by external forces. Now, if you look at the state in which you are, nobody will tell you that the leaders who took over from our independence generation, and I'm not holding forth for our independence generation leaders as saints, they had their faults. But for me, when I judge them, I say that if they had done nothing at all whatsoever, but just gained independence for us, that alone would have been, I would have absolved them of all criticism. But those who took over from them, the gaining of political independence was the first step. The next logical step was the gaining of economic independence. But that was what neocolonialism was meant to prevent. Because if you gain economic independence, nobody is capable of manipulating you. And what is economic independence? Economic independence is our ability to control our resources, our ability to gain material wealth from the resources that Providence has endowed us with, and to be able to distribute these resources in a way that makes every African comfortable and to have a good living standard. And we have the resources to do that. It is because we do not have economic independence, that is why millions, hundreds of millions of our people are still wallowing in abject poverty. Now, in order to make this possible, that we have the gold, we have the diamond, we have the oil, we have everything, that European multinational companies will still be in charge of these, benefiting from these, where there is abundance of land but we are hungry, and abundance of water but we are thirsty. In order to make this work, they needed to have people who look like us, who appear, to us as though they are serving our interests, but in actual fact are serving the interests of the external forces. And you can see all across the continent.
Who are those?
These are the leaders that we have in power.
The political leaders.
The political leaders who are in power, who are puppets of international monopoly capital, who are sharing out our natural resources to external companies on a silver platter, giving them tax exemptions,
tax-free,
tax exemptions, giving them all manner of privileges above our own African people. And this is happening in Ghana, it's happening in Sierra Leone, it's happening
everywhere.
In Nairobi, it's happening everywhere on the African continent. Only puppets will behave in this way.
So the only puppets we have here is the political leaders.
If we are able to get these puppet political leaders out and get people who have the vision of Africa and who have the interests of Africa at heart in place, who can say no to white monopoly capital, we would have solved 95% of our problem. As somebody said, everything is leadership. Leadership is the cause, everything else is effect.
You are watching The Biggest. I'm not saying I agree with you, but do you think there is more than only the political leaders who are puppets?
There is more.
Can you add?
There is more.
Somebody
we have the political leadership. We have academic leadership. People in our universities who have colonial mindsets, whose idea of knowledge is European knowledge. And to be honest with you, a lot of our universities in Africa are breeding grounds of colonialism. They will teach you a lot about European history. They will teach you a lot about European philosophy. They will teach you a lot about European development, economics and everything, European theories. They will never teach you about African spirituality, It's as if we had nothing before the Europeans came here.
Even language we don't have.
Even language. So there is a lot of puppeteering.
What about religion
academics.
and
religious leaders? A lot of them are puppets. A lot of them cannot distinguish. And there is no exception. When I talk about religious leaders, I'm talking about religious leaders in all the faiths across the board. They cannot distinguish between what is spirituality and what is organized religion that has been disguised as spirituality. And these are the teachings that certain people take and infuse them with foreign cultural tendencies. Because you see, organized religion is a combination of spirituality and culture. Cultural tendencies. Now, when you infuse those cultural tendencies, you are importing lifestyles and ways of living from elsewhere that may not necessarily agree with our own philosophies of life. And you know that in the past, there were serious attempts at using religion to look down upon the African skin, to look down upon the black skin, to say that, propound all manner of religious theories, to say that these people are superior and these others are inferior. And they wrote it down in religious scripts. So academia, religion, even think tanks, NGOs, they are puppets, a lot of puppets in there. Even some of our traditional leaders, and I must say, very shamefully, some of our traditional leaders, you know, so long as they can be given a V8 to cruise in, so long as they can be taken to some very nice
hotels and he fly them to America and the rest.
They succumb. And one thing that we have to note, there's a lot of land grabbing right now. Very soon, we would have no land for indigenous people. Why? Because huge multinational companies are coming in, giving our chiefs a lot of money.
Before, when they came, they didn't buy the land. Look at what happened. Now they are buying it.
Buying the land, with getting deeds. We'll give a lot of money, a lot of alcohol to our chiefs. Those who drink alcohol, those who don't drink, they'll give them rams and sheep, cows, and then they'll cede a lot of land to them, and they will prepare the deeds and hold it. When you go to court in future, they have the documents. So when I talk about puppets, this is really a big problem in our leadership that we have to confront, and that is why one of the key things that we are doing is to target the younger generation and to say, look, things don't have to be like this. We as Africans don't have to just be consumers. We have the know-how. We can produce for ourselves. Why is it that we have all the land? 65% of arable land in the whole world is in Africa. But when Russia and Ukraine are fighting, we are concerned not because people are dying, but because we can't get food to eat. That it threatens our food security.
Africa.
This is nonsense. This is absolute nonsense. We ought to be able to feed ourselves. A people that cannot feed themselves.
What can you do? Common food.
Common
Cain
food.
and Abel.
The basics.
You are watching The Biggest. I asked myself the other day, are we squatters on our own land or in our own continent, or we own it? I asked this question. Abusia, I don't want to take much of his time. These are randoms. And the other day, someone was complaining that randoms is 20 minutes. Anytime I do randoms with somebody and it takes a lot of time, I want you to watch the duration of the video. Sometimes I add 10 minutes or 20 minutes to the time. But there are things we really need to clear or get it right, especially when it's about Africans. We don't need to joke with it at all. Because to me, personally, I know Africa will be great again. This thing, I keep saying it with my 2 feet on the ground. I said this and my instincts and my inner man tells me I'm saying something huge, which will happen live. I will not see it. I might not be able to see it, but I know I'm working hard for my generation. They will not go through what we are going through. That's the idea. You are watching The Biggest and the Largest. The topic is reclaiming our identity through African destiny. That's what we are discussing. I always complain about why we have borders. Who made them? We break forth from the oppressors. We don't break forth from a great or a good neighbors. But see, that's our condition. So we keep searching. As we are doing this, I know we will get there. It's not easy, it's not cheap, but we will get there. The fact that we are vibrating towards this, it will happen live. So I'm taking him straight into his topic. I don't want to be emotional about this. You know how important this kind of conversation is to me, because I don't see why any African should be living anywhere working for whatever to prove any books, what any book has written, calling itself holy. That is making us pagans, and that some of us even believe that because we were cursed, we jump into the bush and we became black. This, I don't want to take the show, but I'm giving him the platform to take us through his topic. You are watching The Biggest. So, brother, your topic is reclaiming our identity through African unity. If you can tell us about our identity, I think you've told us about our identity. Yeah. So I want you to go straight into the point, how we can reclaim the identity, and then how we can do this with African, claim African destiny. I mean, put all these things together and take us through.
Yes. I think you've mentioned something that gladdens my heart. You've talked about how you feel strongly about Africa being great, and I think you couldn't have been more right. Africa is going to be great. And one thing I can encourage you is that it's going to happen in our lifetime. I think I believe strongly that I'm going to experience it because I'm working for it.
Yes.
And I have to reap the benefits of my labor, because this is what. So when we talk about reclaiming our destiny through African unity, one will ask, what is our destiny? Why are we reclaiming it? Where did it go? And how can African unity help us to reclaim it? As Africans, our destiny is to live prosperous lives, to tend to the environment, live in harmony with our environment, live in harmony with our neighbors, live in harmony with the best family system set up, with the best socialization and education set up, with the best people who create for ourselves the kind of material, wealth, and understanding that brings about the best conditions of life. And why is that our destiny? That is our destiny because why do you think we have everything in our soil? We have gold, we have diamond, we have bauxite, we have manganese, we have oil, we have everything.
Oh, we discovered lithium not long ago.
Very recently.
Yes.
Now people are moving away from oil and gas. They want to go EV. Even that, the ingredients that they need to do that, we have it. Lithium in Ghana, Zimbabwe, DRC, freshwater bodies scattered everywhere. Why do you think we have that? Why do you think Providence put these things in our soil? The arable land, vast. Why do you think we have that? If the intention, if our destiny is not for us to be well fed, why do we have enough arable land?
Even our seasons.
Yes.
For farming.
For
our
farming.
Seasons.
Why do we have that? Our destiny is to be well fed. That is why we have that. Why do we have the gold and the diamonds and everything? Because our destiny is to be wealthy. These are symbols of wealth. These are things that bring wealth. And these things had manifested themselves before. So when we are talking about the destiny of Africa as a great nation, this is not theory. This has manifested itself before. When we talk about the great, kingdoms and ancient civilizations whose knowledge a lot of the modern world is now dependent on, for astronomy, for philosophy, for geology, for everything. All knowledge systems are now based on ancient civilizational knowledge that our ancestors pioneered. This is a manifestation of our destiny. Our destiny is to farm the land, produce food for ourselves, and feed our children. Feed the children of the land. We are not meant to be hungry. This is not our destiny. And we use to manifest this. We only got distracted by a lull of 500 years of serious lack of focus that put us in the white man's dungeon. And that distraction continued through colonialism. That destruction is now continuing through neocolonialism. Ours is to determine and to recognize that neocolonialism, colonialism, and all these bad things that have happened to us, it was a blip. It was a truncation of the destiny. That was a truncation. It could be long, 500 years, 600 years, but that is a brief truncation. We must aim to reclaim it. And the only reason why that truncation happened is because of infighting. It's because of infighting. And Chancellor Williams has documented this in his book, The Destruction of the African Civilization. Chancellor Williams has documented it. It's because of infighting. Infighting distracted us from our destiny, from that glorious destiny. And that is what gave other people the advantage over us. And it has continued. The infighting, they cemented it with the borders. Why is it that when you live here and you want to go to another African country, you have to go for visa? If somebody is traveling from Senegal to Tanzania, they need a visa. And I'll tell you a story that happened. We're having an event in Tanzania, and one of our people was coming with 3 of her children. And 2 of them had a Senegalese passport. One had both Senegalese passport and American passport. Now, what happened was that the 2 who had Senegalese passport had a hard time getting visa into Senegal. So there was an experiment. Okay, this other one, instead of using his Senegalese passport, let's use the American passport and see.
One time, the passport they don't even want to see.
You bet.
You don't know.
You bet. One time.
One time.
They didn't need a passport. Only had to show up at
even
the airport.
Senegal is okay here. But when you go through Barbados, Antigua, where our own people are, that they've told them that we sold them off. So it's like there is this thing between us. When they look at Ghana passport, where they will throw you to, you sit there and you are like, what has happened to us?
So I kept asking myself, so your fellow African, you value the passport from America, you know, more than
of course
your fellow
now the
African.
you and my
so it's like, yes, so why would America not dictate to us if they see that
you appreciate
you
them
value them more
own.
than your own? They will dictate to you and you have no option but to follow. So these divisions, these borders, visa, different currencies. Look, we have more than 40 African currencies. And I did a video on these African currencies. I have a lot of them. I should have brought them here. I have Rwandan CFA, I have Tanzania shillings, I have Kenya shillings, I have Ghana cedis, I have Ethiopian currency. I have all of these currencies. I have Togo CFA.
But with this one, even if you are buying in Zanzibar or Tanzania, they prefer dollars than their own money.
That's the story.
So that's where we are now.
That's the story I was coming to. If you send
even Togo here,
Ghana
Togo here,
to
they
Togo
want
here,
dollar than
you
cedi.
will not get it.
No,
you will not. You can't buy anything.
No,
you enter. Look, Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, they all use a currency called shillings. But they have Tanzania shillings, they have Uganda shillings, they have Kenya shillings. If you take Tanzania shillings and go into...
They don't want to know.
Into Uganda, it is useless shillings. You take Uganda shillings and go into Tanzania, it can't work. One day I was in Arusha and I wanted to buy some fruits. So, but I didn't have Tanzanian shillings on me. I had Ghana cedis.
It doesn't cross any. It doesn't. You don't know.
It doesn't cross. Like it's useless.
Cross
so long
anywhere.
as you move.
If you don't have Ghana, a card, you are done.
Out of Ghana,
you are done.
Your cedis useless. Completely useless. So I was going to pay with. I said, I don't have Tanzanian shillings. Would you accept Ghana cedis? He said, no, I can't accept Ghana cedis. I said, why? He said, no, but Ghana
the case is serious. You can't even do Western Union from Ghana to another country. You can only do it from other countries to this place. You can't transfer money for. You have to use other channels.
Currencies. So I was like, but which currency going to? He said, but if you have
dollars. Oh, you are watching the biggest. Our case is that serious.
Tragic.
Right now, what I want us to talk about right now, we want to reclaim. Nobody will say no to this. Okay, our destiny and our identity. Nobody will say no to this. And I don't think our identity is for somebody for us to reclaim it. We have to notice who we are. That's what I think. But looking at the hatred among us, how best can this also help this agenda?
It's in the mind. It's in the mind. We've talked about religion, we've talked about academia, we've talked about what these things have done is to spend a lot of time to study our psychology and to come out with ways by which they can use these things to colonize our minds. Everything starts from here. Everything starts from here. That is why when you hear, when you leave your house and you go into, it's like they've covered all of these spaces. You go to school, they're teaching you about Alexander the Great. Alexander the thief. Alexander.
Leaving Hammurabi and the others
Exactly. Alexander was nothing but a thief.
You are saying it too.
Alexander was a thief. But they teach you about Alexander the Great. What was great about a thief? What is great about a thief? Because they are using the colonizers' language for you to see their heroes as your heroes. This is school. You finish school and the only thing that is in your mind is to become more Western. You think that the more Western you become, the more civilized you become.
But do you think, you see, let's hold the bull by the horn, okay? Because right now, we have people, Africans, who has even changed their identity.
Yes.
They don't want their passport. I remember some time ago, when we had the opportunity to change our identity to American passport and UK. I have had opportunities for both. Yes. And me, I said I will not change my identity.
Yes.
I want to be me.
Yes.
And one of my friends also said this. I don't know what happened, but I told them something that when they give birth and they are giving them those passports and they are happy, they should read it well before they sign. Because I wouldn't be surprised that one day you will bring your children here because of something and a plane will come here and they will use that passport to collect all our children and take them. I said this years ago. This my friend contacted me just 3 months ago that he took a friend's daughter's passport, read, and then he remembered what I said years ago. So you see how we ourselves are rejecting our own culture, identity, and everything. Yeah. That's why I'm saying that if we are going to confront this, for people to know themselves as Africans, some of our own people will come up, and you know this.
Yeah, they will. They will.
Yes.
They will.
So
part of
what I want us
puppets.
to know that give us like 5 stretches. Those I know I am an African and nothing will change that. Nobody, nothing, not even death will change that. I am me. I'm a proud Ghanaian and I'm a great one at that matter. I am a proud African woman. You see? But the goons who don't want us to talk about this.
Yeah.
And they are our blood. We can't throw them away. So 5 structures that you think we can use in getting through to them, no matter how huge they hypnotize them. How do we get through to these people? 5 structures.
In my line of work, there are a few things that I've realized. The first thing is that we have to wage a psychological war. We have to wage a psychological, and that's why I'm very happy the work that you are doing, because it is enlightening the population. And even if at the end of a show, if you do even one show and only one person or few people get converted, those few people will also convert others.
Exactly.
And those will also convert others. And the snowball approach would help us to reach thousands. So the work you're doing, I commend you. Do not underestimate the power and the influence that you are having on the minds, because everything again starts from the mind. Now, that is one. Secondly, we have to look at our educational systems. We have to look at our educational systems and reform these educational systems to be Afrocentric. To be Afrocentric. I remember years ago when I was in the university, I had a major debate with one of my lecturers who was teaching us development theories. And, you know, a lot of the theories that were being taught were mainly European theories about Africans. And I'm like, so, and you see a lot of them having things like Africans have low IQ, Africans, and I just couldn't take it. Young as I was, I then asked the question, say, why is it that these theories that we are learning, we are not learning any theories from any African? Is it that we don't have professors who have propounded theories? Why is it that me as an African student, sitting in an African university, being taught by an African professor in an African country, learning about myself that I have low IQ, where I can beat any white person sitting in this class toe to toe? I can beat them in exams, and I've been beaten. So I was like, no. And this was not hearsay, because there were exchange students from US, white people who were in, and we write exams and we beat them.
Oh, we beat them.
We beat them in the exam.
Always.
That's like, so how do you explain that? You just look at my skin and say that I have lower IQ
Your
than
black
this person.
color is more than
But
pigmentation.
look, no. So it was a huge debate. It was so we have to look at our educational systems. We have to look at religion, and this is not new. You see that in 1927, a man in Jamaica called Robert Attlee wrote his own Bible. He just got up, discarded the Roman Catholic Bible, and wrote his own Bible. That Bible was called the Black Man's Bible. That corrected all the slave-like sort of texts that demonizes Africans. So we don't have to shy away from these spaces, because like it or not, practically, in reality, it has a lot of our people in their hands. Just tune into TV and see how many people are ready to lie down for a so-called prophet to put their feet on their neck. Pregnant women are lying down, and people are stepping on their when I see it, I cringe. But this is the extent of mental slavery that people are in. So some of these spaces, I think strategically, We have to go into those spaces. I think strategically.
Hey, how do you go into those
No,
places?
we have to groom. We have to groom. We have to groom our pastors.
You have to groom your pastors.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. To teach. See, hear me out. Religion, organized religion, can sometimes be stripped of spirituality. It sometimes also takes advantage of spirituality.
It has.
Yes. So, from a sociological background, I know that religion, education, all of these things, media, these are tools. And they are not a means, an end in themselves. They are a means to an end. They've used these tools for several years and decades to great ends that serve their interests. How do we also, seeing that it now has the minds of a lot of our people, how do we also use this as tools?
That's the issue.
That's the issue. So we have to think strategically. Even if it means we must infiltrate the church.
Hey!
Yes! They infiltrate our spaces. So this is not a small battle.
It is not. Oh.
This is a huge battle that we have to strategize. And look, we need one currency in Africa to trade. We need one passport. We need one united continent. We need a common defense system. We need all of these things. We need common communication systems so that when I live here and enter into Togo, I don't have to change a SIM card.
Now that we are 52 countries,
yes,
as Africans,
yes,
and the biggest, we have the biggest land, we cannot form or
yes.
join together, but people are planning to go to BRICS.
Yeah.
And this is what you have to say.
Yeah.
How?
No, we can. Why can't we? America is made up of 50 different countries. People don't realize that America, that's why they call it United States of America. That whole place is a continent. But they have come together to form a united front.
So that's why I'm asking 5 structures. 5 structures, looking at the level we've gotten to.
Yes.
The level of hypnotism.
Yes.
How we even see ourselves, the hatred, the greed.
So these things that I've given you. The other one is politics. It's politics. We cannot leave our governance perpetually to puppets.
Hey!
And keep complaining. No.
What can you do? What can you do?
Empress.
With this puppet, what can you do? Puppet we've left a bacterium to become a monster.
Yes.
And you are here, you have to deal with them. What can you do?
Yes. We have to deal with them. We cannot leave our governance to puppets.
Deal with them, and I'm behind you.
No, Empress, I need you in the front line. I need you in the front line.
Oh,
charging
my God.
out the battle.
Oh.
Because it will be difficult, and I'm happy you've said it. It won't be easy. It won't be cheap. But we have to do it.
And we will do it.
And we will do it.
And we will win it.
And we will win the battle. Because we owe it to ourselves and to our children and our children's children that we came and this was the condition and this is what we did and we changed the condition so that our children don't have to fight the battles that we are fighting. They will have their own battles to fight, but it ought to be completely different from these battles these are foundational mindset battles. So that is another structure that we have to tackle, politics and governance. We have to groom people with an Afrocentric mindset who would become MPs, who will become presidents. Yes, we will break it. Then let's also form our cartels. Yes.
You are watching the biggest. Asamno. Oh, can now wakuma a BT double. You wish you could do something. You wish somebody will understand you. You wish somebody will see the condition. How? Africans, how? Origin of all mankind, the most powerful race is being oppressed for this year. I have a video for you on Sunday. I want everybody to watch. What you should go to church and pray to God. Because the Bible said that in the Garden of Eden, God was coming to have fellowship with Adam and Eve. There was nothing like worshiping or tithes or what have you. And then God said they should take dominion and authority over the land and rule over everything here. This is what God said. Don't let anybody tell you you are going to heaven. This is where you were given. So if there is anything you have lost, tell God to reverse the curse, because he said 2,000 years. It's now 500 years. We have a lot to petition God if we go to church. So tell your pastor, Maame Grace, stop telling me heaven, because Bible said it clearly that we should rule here and take dominion over the land. If we've lost anything as Africans, we've lost authority, we've lost dominion. That is what we have to fight for. I don't want to take his case, but I'm getting, when things like this get to me, it triggers my innermost man, and I don't want to take it. So Sunday, watch that episode and go and tell your pastor, I say so. Say he should stop telling you about heaven. You didn't fall from heaven. The dust on this land was used to make you. You belong here. Satan and his angels, they fall from there, so they have the hope to go there. They have apartment there. You have nothing. My brother, our time is due. So advise. You said the youth. Me now, I don't want to say the youth, because those who are even screaming the youth, they have their agenda. Everybody want to use them because, but you give them the hope that they should hold on to Africa. Now, when you go to airport, a youth, from Dagbani, Wabetana airport, he doesn't even know where he's going. People are traveling even to Ethiopia. You don't know where they are running to. Advise them the hope they should have in our land, especially Ghana. The hope they should have put your advice on for the puppets, send them something.
Yes.
And then you send hope to our youth. They are the reason we are doing all this.
Yes. No, for puppets, I think they just have to know that we're coming for them. And they'll run, leaving their sandals behind.
Okay.
And we are serving notice that if they do not stop selling out Africa, if they do not stop selling out Africa for their mess of pottage, their day is coming. The day of reckoning is coming. So, and if you are in academia, if you are in the media, if you are in civil society, NGO, think tank, whatever, if you are in religion, whether you are a pastor, you are a imam, or you are a Buddhist, or you are an African traditionalist, we have a mission. We have a mission. And this is a survival mission. Because if you turn everywhere, we are under threat. Our land is under threat. Our water is under threat. Our bodies are under threat. Our minds, most of all,
in shackles.
In shackles. We have to survive. We have to survive. And this is our mission. Our mission is a war. We have to declare war.
Hey!
Yes.
Dampari will come for you.
It's a war. Dampari also knows it. That we are in a war. It may not necessarily be a war of guns or a war of machetes or a war of clubs and pickaxes. It is a war of the mind. It is a war of power. It is a war of destiny. We cannot win that war by wishing. We cannot win that war by praying to God to save us. We cannot win that war by sitting on our oars. Everything that we need to survive on this earth has already been provided. Everything. It is left unto us as living things, living beings with flesh, soul, and heart and mind to think our way out of this, to do our way out of this. To be is to do. And we were not meant to be this way. Our destiny is not that of paupers. Our destiny is not that of poor people. Our destiny is not that of hungry people. Our destiny is waiting for us. A destiny of a glorious African people, of a glorious African race, of a glorious people who were displaced into so many places and put into cages around the world, on the continent, in what we call diaspora, Jamaica, Brazil, Antigua, Barbados, all of those places. Yes, there are several things that are distracting us from uniting, but our only salvation and the only path to our destiny is by coming together as one. Because united we stand, divided we fall, and a house divided against itself cannot stand.
Thank you so much, brother, for coming. I do appreciate you. Is there any social media handles?
Yes. On social media as HADI YAKUBU, Son of Africa. And the movement that I lead is called Africans Rising. So if you just type Africans Rising, you see it on Facebook, Twitter, and the rest.
Please type and learn.
Yes.
I wish you well. Your vision is great. I pray you don't become a pauper in 5 years.
May I die before then.
Amen.
If I were to be.
Amen. Thank you so much for coming. We do appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
We do appreciate you and we wish you well. I believe all the rulers of this universe will back you guys up. And we are all putting up our bit. And we believe so much that Africa will be great again. When I say this, people ask, has Africa ever been great? Do your research and know who you are. Africa will be great again, Macron.